1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, let's take a look at Still Standing. It's in the key of E. This song has a lot of really big chords and a lot of fast changes. So I'm going to try to move through it pretty quick, but if I'm moving too fast, luckily this is video, so you can go back and pause or rewind and go over the material as much as you need to. Okay, let's start out with the intro. If you look on your chord chart, there's no intro that's written on either page, but the introduction is actually the same as the tag. It's an instrumental tag at the end of the chorus. So if you look on page 1, go to chorus 1. You go all the way down to the bottom of the chorus where it says NC. There's a little progression that happens after that. That progression is our introduction to the song. So this is probably the most difficult part of the song, is just the intro itself. So it starts out on an E major chord. I'm playing 1 and 5 on my left hand here, which is an E and a B, and then right hand is going to do a inverted E chord. So it's going to be B, E, G sharp. I like this voicing of this chord for this intro because it makes the rest of the chords really easy to play in the intro, and you'll actually see what I mean once we get started here. So here's E. Then they say they want an F sharp minor 11. Okay, and so what happens is I move my left hand up to like I'm playing an F sharp chord, and my right hand I just move this G sharp to an A. Okay, so the first two chords are E, F sharp minor 11. Then they want an E over G sharp. Oops, sorry. So the E over G sharp, we just go back to our E, our regular E voicing that we used for the first chord, but down here, we're gonna have the G sharp on bottom, on the left hand. Then they go to E minor over G. So what happens on our left hand is we just go down to a G. You can play the 1 and 5 if you want to fill it out a little bit. Our right hand, we move this G sharp down to a G. And so the right hand is actually playing an inverted E minor chord, while the left hand is doing the root and fifth of a G. Then we go back to F sharp minor 11, which is the second chord in our progression. And then they say they want an F major 7 with a flat 5. So this B on my right hand is the flat 5 to F major 7. So all we have to do is keep our right hand the same and move a half step down on our left hand from this F sharp position to a F natural. And it makes this really cool jazzy chord. And then we land back on E. Okay? And they do that progression almost 2 complete times. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay. Now they are going to go back into that progression, but before they do this little run. Okay, it starts on an E. Okay, and we're wanting to land on B, but we're using F sharp and G sharp to get us there. So it's E, F sharp, G sharp, B, and then once we get to that B, we start on B again. Then we go to a C sharp. Then we go to E. And we hit it twice just like that. One last time. And then we go back into our progression for the intro. Okay, and actually on the second time we play that progression after the run, we go E, F sharp, E over G sharp, E minor over G, back to F sharp minor 11. And then they have this, instead of going to F, they actually have this other chord. It's a C major 7 with a sharp 5 and a G sharp in the bass. So what that looks like is this is the voicing. You can do this in your right hand and do octaves in your left hand, or you can just use both hands to make the chord down here, which is what I do. It's just easier. Plus you have a bass player and guitar players to fill out the rest of it if this sounds too empty. But anyway, the voicing is G sharp and C, and then you're basically doing an E major chord with your right hand. E, G sharp, and B. Okay, so the whole intro slowly sounds like this. Okay, so moving on, then we go to verse 1. Verse 1 is pretty easy. C sharp minor 7 to a B over D sharp. I always play B2. To a E. And then they do this little lick between E and A. Okay. Second line is C sharp minor 7, B, and then same lick. Alright? And so the rhythm of those verses is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and that's the fast part. Then they do this little breakdown on the third line of the verse that goes C sharp minor 7, D sharp diminished 7. Okay, and this is a really familiar chord, but I'll just go over it again. I'm doing D sharp in my left hand, and then right hand is C, D sharp, F sharp, A. Then they do a C over E sharp. Now, you might be wondering what's an E sharp. E sharp is just an F. There's nothing in between E and F to make an E sharp be a different pitch than F. E sharp is F. They wrote E sharp in this chord chart for just there's strange musical rules about when certain notes can be sharp or natural. And so I don't need to go in and explain it, but all you need to know is that E sharp is an F. So it's basically a C sharp over F. Okay, so if we're looking at that third line again, going C sharp minor 7, D sharp diminished 7, and then C sharp over F. Okay, and then the last line of it, G sharp over D sharp. And I like to play the G sharp in this root position because my next chord is going to be a C sharp. So my left hand moves from D sharp to C sharp, and my right hand, I go from this G sharp to this C sharp. So it just makes it easier. So my G sharp is G sharp, C, and D sharp, and then my C sharp voicing is G sharp, C sharp, and E sharp, or we call it F. The first three notes of the last line of the verse, they're actually going to move pretty quick, and they move with the the rhythm of the lyrics. So it's standing on. So if we went from the line before, it's and if it had not been for you standing on. Okay. And then there's no chord on the lyric my, but then side where would I be. They actually have a chord on each one of those lyrics too, so you got to really know the rhythm of the lyrics. So it'd be standing on my side, where would I be? Okay. So going slowly, standing on my side is an E over G sharp. A is on where. That one's easy. And then E over B, would I be. So from would to I, it's really easy because you don't have to move. You can play the same E2 over B, and then you just move your bass note down to G sharp. Where would I be? We just end on an A. Okay, and I don't really need to go over the chorus because it's pretty self-explanatory. The chords just move. It's really easy. It's probably the easiest part of the whole song is the chorus. But just know when we break from the chorus that we go back into that intro. So they sing, not for your favor, I never could say, I'm still standing, but by the grace of God. Okay, so let's just skip down to the bridge. They don't really have the riff written out for the bridge. They just have the chords. So let's take a look at the chords first. They have A minor 7, which I'm playing A and E in my left hand, and then G, C, E in my right hand. If we move that whole voicing up a full step, we'll get our B minor 7, which is the next chord. And so that's a B and an F sharp in the left hand, A, D, F sharp in the right hand. And then they have this goofy chord called an E7 with a sharp 9. The sharp 9 is actually just a minor third. But the way I like to play that chord is like this. And it sounds really dissonant, really bluesy, but that's kind of the feel that they're going for in this part of the song. So it's an E and a B in my left hand. My right hand's going to play the D, which is the 7, the dominant 7. And then I'm playing G and G sharp and a B in my right hand. Okay? Okay, and then I just want to move through this lick really slowly. It starts on an E. So it's E to G on octaves. Then they go down to a lower G. So it's E to G to E, down to low G, to an A, B, and then they have this little, and that little lick is between D, E, G, okay? So the first part of that riff is then the second half is we're using the E that we land on the end of the first part. That's our first E of the next sequence. We go down to G sharp. G sharp, A sharp, then we land on a B, and we do B twice. Then we hit G up top, so okay, and it still ends with that lick between the G, E, and D. Then we go to the G, G, A, B, D, E, G, E. Okay, and then that would bring us into our chords. A minor 7, B minor 7, and that E dominant 7 with a sharp 9. Okay, and there's something to note that there's two different rhythms, or two different ways they use that E7 chord in two different rhythms. So the first one would be second one would be all right, so just use the track as a reference for that, for those rhythms. They all are alternating, so you're going to have to just really pay attention to the track to understand what the sequence is on that bridge. But that's the lick for the bridge. And then I want to move on to chorus 2. There's just a little part of chorus 2 that I want you to recognize. For the most part, chorus 2 isn't any different than chorus 1, except that they add a little tag at the end of the chorus. So if you look down at the end of chorus 2 on the second to last line, they go, if not for your favor, I never could say. Second to last line, they play an A minor. I'm still standing. To a G sharp over E2. I'm sorry, E2 over G sharp. And then you can just play that same chord but go down to F sharp. Okay, so that's that. I would consider that the tag of this song. It's just it's an alternate ending to chorus 2 to bring us to the outro. So just be aware of that. And then they just end it with the same chords that we would take ourselves out of the first chorus with. It's the same chords as the intro. Okay, and when they do play that outro, the tempo is going to, it'll start right at tempo, but eventually it'll kind of slow down. So we just got to be really mindful of the other musicians and make sure that we're ending together and that we're slowing down at the same pace. That is it for Still Standing. I hope I covered everything that you might have had questions on. Thanks for watching, and keep practicing.